welcome. This is my new video about optimism versus pessimism. And if you're new here and you enjoy topics from self-help and personal development, I will be really happy if you subscribe to my channel. Now I would like to start with my topic. And so this is kind of difficult topic for me because I don't personally see myself as being 100% pessimist or 100% optimist. I don't really see myself as neither of these two, but I kind of have sometimes problems with this, and I kind of oscillate between these two. And I found something really interesting about this. It's by Martin Seligman, and he's like a positive psychologist, and he kind of described these two styles, attribution styles, and I think they are really interesting. And it's optimistic attribution style and pessimistic attribution style. And basically what this means is that if you have optimistic attribution style, it means that whenever something good happens to you, you always see that as something which is your merit and your success. Like if you succeed in something, you attribute always internally. Like you think that it's your 100% your success and your merit, and you yourself worked really hard and it just paid off, and you just kind of attribute internally. And you also tend to think about success as something which is internal, which you deserved, which is global, which is just your life, and you see everything optimistically and kind of stable. You see success and happiness and your overall happiness in life as something stable, and that makes you optimist. And always you see that if you succeed in something, it's always internal and it's your own effort. And if you don't succeed in something, you always see that as some accident or something which is like external and it's not your fault, and you tend to attribute really internally. If you were in school, if you were a student in school and somebody would ask you after the test, how did you do on test, and you would do really well, you would say that you studied really hard and it's your own effort. And if you failed on the test, you would say something like, oh, it's not my fault, the questions were just too hard. So this is what an optimistic attribution style looks like. And now I would describe the pessimistic attribution style. And it's basically the exact opposite. Basically, if you are a pessimist, you always think that if you succeed in something, it's always luck and it's always external. And if somebody asked you after the test, like this first person, and you got an A on the test, and somebody would ask you, how did it happen? You would say, oh, it was just luck. I was just lucky. And also, if you don't succeed in something, that's a really interesting thing, because if you are a pessimist, you would say that it's completely your fault. So you would attribute internally. So quite contrary to the optimist, when you are a pessimist, when you succeed in something, you attribute externally, like it's not your merit. And when you don't succeed in something, you attribute internally, like it's you to blame. It's always like your fault and stuff like that. And so if somebody would ask you after this test, what happened that you got a wrong grade, like a bad grade, you would say something like, oh, I didn't study, I completely screwed up and it was just my fault. So this is what you would do as a pessimist. Now, if you were listening to me up until now, then you probably can say already that you maybe know some optimists in your life and some pessimists in your life. Maybe you kind of have an idea of how you would describe yourself. This doesn't only have to apply to school. I hope you understand that it can apply to anything. Like if you have a presentation in work, or if you have anything which you have to do in sports, or every time you're basically trying to do something. And this can apply, these attribution styles. What I would like to say about this is that basically now you might see already two things. First thing is very obvious. It's like it would be so much better and your life would be so much nicer if you were an optimist. That's kind of like, you can see it from this. It's like the obvious thing. Like, who wouldn't want to be an optimist? Who wouldn't want to think that think like globally about your life as being amazing and nice and happy, and every time something bad would happen to you, you would think about it as some kind of accident or something external or some kind of unfortunate situation. You know, it would be really so much better for anybody to be an optimist. You know, imagine if you are a pessimist now, imagine how amazing it would be if you just thought that everything is amazing and your life is great, and every time you succeed it's like because you worked hard, and every time you don't succeed it's because external circumstance happened and stuff like that. So that's the first thing. It would be really nice if we all were optimistic people. But also the second thing, and this is much more important, and if you were listening carefully, you can see now that it doesn't matter if you are a pessimistic kind of person or optimistic kind of person, you are always biased. Even if you are pessimist, you are biased. If you are optimist, you are biased. If you are optimist, this is basically called like self-serving bias. Like if you always think that every time you succeed in something, it's always internal. Every time you don't succeed, it's always external. This is like a bias, because it's never this simple. It doesn't matter if you are pessimist or optimist, it's never this simple. You know, imagine the situation which I picked for this video, the situation with the test. Imagine that a pessimist would say that if he got an A, that it was luck. Like nothing could be further from the truth, because if you actually succeed on some test, it can never be only luck, ever. Because imagine, what actually happened in reality is that you actually had to study for this test. At least something. You had to study at least something. You were studying maybe a little bit, but you were studying something. And that was your effort. You know, the knowledge which you built. And then you came to write the test, and suddenly you see questions which match the things that you learned. And so you are like, oh, I'm so lucky, the questions matching what I learned. But it's like you had to learn something in order to get to the part where you can be lucky. Because imagine if you didn't learn anything, you would get to this test and you could never be lucky ever, because no matter what question you would get, you would never know the answer because you didn't study anything. You know, if you don't study anything, you can never be lucky, because there's no question they could possibly ask you considering this topic. If you didn't learn anything, there can be no luck for you, because there's nothing they could possibly ask you that you would know since you didn't study anything. And so this can never happen, that it would be only fluke luck. So this is for you, like pessimists out there. If you think sometimes that something that you achieved in life is only luck, it's never only luck. There had to be some of your efforts, and then you built on that, and that you could get to the part where you were lucky. So maybe that was a combination of both of these things. But it was never fluke luck, ever, if you achieved anything. And so I was thinking very long time what should be the message of my video, because I felt like it's so simplified if I told you now. Like, if you are an optimist watching this video, I would tell you, like, go ahead and be an optimist, it's the best thing, your life must be really nice. Just keep going and keep doing what you're doing. That would be my message for the optimists. But with the pessimists, I was kind of I was hesitating, because it seemed like I should tell you, like all the pessimistic guys out there, just learn how to be an optimist, you know, like learn how to be happy and how to see everything that it's your merit. Which you succeed, it's your merit, and when you don't succeed, it's just external, and see your life globally, optimistically, and stuff like that. But I felt like it would be really insincere for me, because I know that I almost feel like this is impossible to do, because this is like a complete paradigm shift, and it's just not easy if someone tells you just think something else. It's just not what you would normally do. And so the message of my video would be more like, if you are a pessimist, I would really advise to you, rather than trying to make an optimist out of yourself, just notice when you are being biased, and you are being biased. If you are pessimist, you are biased. But notice when you are being biased, you know, because if you don't succeed in something, it's never like only your fault, you know, like there is always combination of factors, and when you succeed in something there is also always combination of some factors, and they are both internal and external, and it's good to think about stuff in this complex way. And so whenever you succeed in something, try to think about it like this. Don't say that it was fluke luck. Don't say you were just lucky and it was just a good like circumstance and stuff like that. Think about it really in a more complex way, and try to kind of switch from being totally pessimistic more to the maybe middle or towards more the optimistic side, but at least try to be more neutral, you know, because I can see that if you are a pessimist, maybe you tend to think a lot about things, you are very rational, maybe you just decompose everything, and you see that nothing is so simple and stuff like that. So I would tell you, just learn how to think in a more neutral way, and learn your own bias and how you can avoid being so biased. And I think that's everything for my today's video. I hope it was useful for you in some way, and that's probably everything for me. If you have any questions about this topic, please write me in the comments. I will be so happy to answer you. Or maybe I will make another video where I will be speaking about this more deeply, or I will give more examples. I'm not sure yet, but this is everything for now, and have a nice now, and I will see you next week with my next video. Bye.